computer. Okay. So quiz 2 has been done. I will be posting quiz 3. I'll be posting quiz 3 today, or tomorrow, depending on when I get to it. But I will be posting that so that you'll have it. I will make, let's see. And that will have the due date will be posted as well along with it. I will not make it due over spring break. So we'll probably be due after spring break, I guess, most likely. But because I expect you all to do exactly the same amount of work that I plan on doing during spring break, which is none related to class, at least. As far as quiz 2, I can go. Yeah, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go over quiz 2. Would people like that? I'm just setting a reminder in my to-do list to do that. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to Runestone then. Not sure. I'll have to double check what quiz 3 goes over. I think it's because off the top of my head, I can't really remember, but okay. So let's go ahead and do assignments. Not over here for assignments. We need instructors page. Assignments. Quiz 2. All right, so it was due there. That was a hard deadline, so should be able to be done. All right. So problems for quiz 2. So the first problem was this one: compute the following and compute and print the following using a for loop, which is the mathematical notation for sum of 100 over from 50 to 100. Okay. In previous semesters, I'd had some students who had there. So if you printed out the sum of all numbers from 100 inclusive, that was not what I intended. But what you'll want is to compute and print using a for loop. So what we want is just a for loop that basically says, hey, for num in range, or something to this effect, right? There's a bunch of correct ways to do that. So for range from 50 up to, but not including 100, because that's the weird peculiarities with the difference between Python and math language, right? We wanted to include the 100. If you're off by 1, that's going to be a very minor, like, point off, if anything, but that's fine. So, and now we needed to add all these up, so we wanted to accumulate them. So I'll say total is equal to 0, num plus equal, total plus equals number, and then print the total. Okay. So for problems, now for this one, El Tetrimo, there's a couple different ways to do this, and it's not necessarily the easiest to do this here, but first, these were here as hints to tell you what to do, which was to first do these two. Right, the first things we need to do is set up our turtle and then get our function set up. Right, and then the next thing is to draw a square, which would be range 4, for I in range 4. And then to draw a square, that goes a certain amount right? What we're going to want to do is that we need to draw 4 sides, and each side that we draw, we move forward and then we turn. So, which was this piece over here. Okay, so that's it for drawing the square. Then we have a second function here, which we needed. And again, if your answer produces this, I'll be happy with it. This is just the way that I had it set up to auto grade. Okay, which is that what we need to do is that we want to draw the El Trimo, and then we'll call. So this will do the El Trimo, and then we're going to call it at the end. So we'll put all our stuff in between there. Okay. So for I in range 2, so this is the only tricky part that we really have. So that's to draw a square. Let's see what this one does. It says draw a square, turn to the right, move forward 50, and then reset it, then turn to the left. So it'd be facing the same way. So it would draw like a square and then move down to the bottom left corner of it. And so if we did that, so ostensibly, if we did this twice, we'd get our first 2 squares over here. 1, 2, and then we'd be over here. And then we could draw a square and then move forward and draw another square. So, and so let's see. Hey, I perfectly recreated the problem I made. Imagine that. So, but again, so long as there's multiple ways to do this. So long as it works, I'm happy. Yeah. I'll be sending out a form so that if you need me to manually grade it, I will. But although, to be honest, with this one, I'll probably have to manually grade everything since everybody needs one of the problems graded. So you won't need a form for this one. I'll check all your answers. Yes.
So you still haven't manually graded the last problem?
I have. Yeah. No. Okay. No. The due date was the 15th, right? So my weekend will probably be devoted to grading. So, so Crossy, because I've got an exam to grade in this as well. Yeah, don't worry about if it was wrong, I'll check. Is there any way for you to see your answers on the quiz? I'm not sure. I can definitely show them to you in office hours, or send them to you via email or something, but like I don't know naturally. So for this one, again, what's important to remember here is that we've got a symbol that is vertically and horizontally symmetrical. So that means, or another way to look at it is that it is rotationally symmetrical. In other words, each one of these has like, think about how you would draw this figure using a turtle, which is that basically you're drawing a Y shape. It's 4 Ys basically stuck together. Okay. So basically what I would do is I'd draw Y and then I'd turn 90 degrees and I'd draw Y, return to my starting position and turn 90 degrees. And then I'd just do that 4 times in a row. So import to set up the turtle. And then this is for us to say, hey, start here. So we start by, and then I guess the hide turtle is going to go at the end when we're done, because why not? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move forward 50. Okay, and then I could go left. So I can't go left 90 degrees because I've gone forward 50. Or rather, if I'm starting out, right? It says, hey, what you're going to do is you're going to go and draw that shape. So now my turtle is right here and he's facing this way, right? That's the just default standard of the way the turtle starts. So he needs to turn 45 degrees in order to draw one of these, right? He can't turn 90 degrees. 90 degrees would be up or down, right? So what we're going to do is that we are going to turn, and we've got some comments, turn for the next branch. Excellent. So what we're going to do is that, and this one says reset heading and turn to center. Excellent. So we know that these probably will go to the end, right? Reset heading, go to the center. Makes sense. And then turn for the next branch. So what we've got here is bob.turn, because I've been looking for a command that gives us a 45-degree turn from that location. So for Bob, Bob turns right 45 degrees, forward 50 degrees, backwards, okay? And then if he Bob is facing this way. So 90 degrees to the left would be this way. And then you have him move forward that amount. So what we're going to do there, so clear that. So Bob, let's see, Bob, 45 degrees, and then left 90. And then it says reset heading, right? This because right now he's facing he's facing, Bob is facing this direction, and we want him to be facing this direction if we want to reset the way he was. Because I always like to start him back where he finished. So reset the heading, pick up the pen so I don't make any messy scrapes, and then go back to the center. And now that he's at the center, I can put the pen down and turn left to draw the up branch of that. All right, and now for this one, right, show code, right, we've got the draw square function done. We've got this turtle thing, and if we just watch him, he turned and he disappeared over here, right? So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and comment out. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna comment out this guy so I can see where my turtle is. No, there's not. They're functions that do the same thing. So he's facing this way. So I mean, the easiest way for me to do what I need to do to turn this into this is I could draw another square here, but I mean, I'd just be drawing over lines I've already drawn. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Really, all I need is to draw this line, right? That's all I have to do. So long as your code draws that line and produces this shape, again, I'm happy, right? And there's like a bunch of ways to do that. You could have just drawn a square, or you could just go the way I'm going to do it, which is, hey, so Bob dot turn to the right 90 degrees. Right, 90 degrees. Now, how far did he go? He's been, so these sides are all 50. So Bob dot 50 FD, by the way, short for forward. Forward and FD, there's a lot of duplicated commands or commands that are just simply the nicknames or abbreviations for other commands, and FD is that. So as you can see, I've moved him. Let's go ahead and again, we'll keep hiding the turtle. We'll keep unhiding the turtle just so that we can see what he's doing. So there he goes. And then he's there. And now we need him to turn right again. And Okay. And there we go. As long as we turn off. And now all we need to do to make sure that we get what we need to get it matching perfectly is to hide Bob when we're done so that we can actually see the shape. And there we go. So those are our problems for the exam. And of course, it's much easier to do these when you're the person who wrote them, albeit like a year ago. So, you know, so don't feel bad if you don't do it as quickly as I did, because, you know, again, you didn't write them. Okay. In general, I try to get these things auto-graded. I will make a pass and try to grade everything. And if there's any issues later, just send me an email, but I'll be trying to get all this grading done this weekend. And I will post quiz 3. I just need to, let's see, did I make an announcement about what it was, or did I mention what it was going to be about on the page? Nope, I just said I posted Friday. It will most likely go up through while loops, but probably focus still on functions, and it'll most likely focus on function writing and if-else statements, right? So nothing, the quiz won't have anything that hasn't been introduced yet, okay? So, and I would check it now, except I'm recording and sharing my screen. So, goes in tight. So, let's talk about today's in-class exercise. This is yet another one of those assignments that I used to do as a homework, which is Pig Latin. And we're going to be using simplified rules for Pig Latin, but that's okay. The point is that it's silly and it still gets the point across. And it's a good, excellent, and it's a good showing of what in the world we use a while loop for, which is that we use a while loop for telling ourselves whether or not for indefinite loops when we don't know how long it's going to go on for. All right. So we want to take a program and turn it into Pig Latin form. So for those of you who are non-native English speakers, you may not be familiar with Pig Latin, and that's perfectly okay. Pig Latin, or in Pig Latin, igpe adenle, is basically just manipulating English in a very silly children's game way to make it sound like it's Latin. So, and what you do is, and what we do is basically you move basically that first consonant or consonant cluster, as it puts it, to the end. So igpe, pig becomes igpe. We move the P to the end and added A. Adenle becomes, Latin becomes adenle, where we took the L and moved it to the end. Banana becomes ananabe, where we took the B, moved it to the end, and added an AY to it. The tough ones are those first ones that basically begin with vowel sounds, like so because there's different rules for those. Like egg becomes egg-yay or egg-hey. I'll be doing something different there because I can. So there's just different regional rules for the game because it is a game. So this is an example input of the from when I wrote my version of the code and entered stuff. So your code should be producing the identical input and output. So with I put in letter, you should get etterle. If I put in food, foo, I'll get ufe. If I put bar, I'll get arbe. Spam, amspe. Eggs, I did vowels weird. I did guess way. It's a bit weird, but you know what? I like it and it works. So, and then when I type done, it ends. And that's where, and so this is why the while loop is important, because we don't know how long the user is going to put in words until they get bored and walk away, right? So we keep doing stuff until they say done. And once we get the word, and once the word is done, we say, okay, we're done, no more. Okay. So we're going to split this up into four functions. Actually, three functions. We'll call the main function, which is the loop itself, which asks the user to input a word. And then we do all the manipulations for converting it into string Latin. We call all the other fun stuff. Find first vowel, which is very important for figuring out what we're going to be doing with Pig Latin and the Pig Latin rules, which I'll be explaining. And convert to Pig Latin, which actually does the converting to Pig Latin. And it makes use of the find first vowel. The reason we break things up into functions is so that we can work on these parts separately and independently. Okay. And if we work on them separately independently, we can test them separately and independently, which is very useful. So we're going to be using convert to Pig Latin, takes in the string, returns a string. The return string is the Pig Latin form of the input word. Word converted to Pig Latin will follow these two mutually exclusive rules, which is if the word starts with a vowel, we take the vowel, move it to the end of the word, and add way to the end. Okay, so that's why we had Alakazam became Lakazamwe. Okay. Otherwise, move all the letters that are before the first vowel to the end of the word and add a to the end, like you're the Fonz or something, which is a really dated reference. All right, letter, Ederle, Fu, Ufe, right? And so notice with spam, we took not the first letter, we took the first cluster of letters. Spam, and it became am, spe, the SP moved. Okay, so if there's no vowel, we're just going to go ahead and return it unchanged. Okay, so if there's no vowel, we'll return it unchanged. So the first thing, this means that basically we will be using find first vowel a lot, because this means this will tell us where all the letters are in the word that we care about, right? So we'll probably want to start that. Oh, and Y is not a vowel. Okay, so, okay. So what we're going to do now is I'll boot up idle, and we'll start with the first function, which is find first vowel. Okay. So let's go ahead and Pig Latin, and I've got an assignment named Pig. It's turning into a very unkosher class. All right, so we've got def find first vowel. So to get you started on this one, we need to take in a string, which I'll just simply call word, right? Because we're going to be ideally taking in a single word here. And what we need to do is that we want to return the index, the location of that first vowel, right? Where in the string it is. So, all right, so for instance, if my string is hello, of course, then I want to return index 1, right? That's where the first vowel is. If I wanted to return, if my word was spam, then we'd be returning 2, because this is 0, 1, 2 for our index, right? And finally, if we wanted to do, and again, for something with multiple vowels like create, again, it's the first vowel. It's going to be 2 again here, right? And now if it was apple, we'll be returning 0, because that's where the first vowel is. And now we also need to make a choice, which is that how in the world do I deal with not getting a word that doesn't have a vowel in it? And for right now, like sky. Took me a while to think of one, but There you go. Sky's got no vowels in it. So I need to decide what I'm going to do here. Because if it doesn't have, I want to be able to signal to anybody to anybody who calls me that this word doesn't have a vowel. Well, because words can be arbitrarily long, right? There's no congress of words that decides how long a word can be. I can't use a positive integer, right? I could use a float, I suppose. I could like return 0.5, but that just seems weird, you know? I could also return like a string saying no vowel, except some programming languages don't like you to be able to return. You can't return either an int or a string in some programming languages. Python, you can do that, but yeah. Hi, Mustafa, I see your hand raised.
Does it matter since we'll only be using this function inside of the other function, the convert to Pig Latin function?
It's good to think about, but yes, it doesn't really matter because we'll be using it inside just this program, but it still matters to think about. So what I'm going to do is, just for sake of simplicity, is that if it has no vowel, return -1. Because that's technically not a valid index in other languages. Right? In Python, that means that the last letter, but whatever. In -1, we can check -1, right? If we don't get a positive number back, sorry, if we don't get a non-negative integer back, then we know it doesn't have a vowel. All right, so the easiest way to do that is just simply to have a default over here that says return -1. And otherwise, we'll want to iterate through. So I'll give you a start on that. Vowels is equal to A, E, I, O, and U. And you can go ahead and assume word will be lowercase, okay? Go ahead and assume your word is going to be lowercase. So go ahead and finish this, where you give me the location of the first vowel. Now remember, you're going to need to iterate through this. But if you want the index, you have to do one of two things. You either have to use the range function, right, to go over the indexes, or use enumerate to get the index along with the letter, right? So you'll want to use one of those two things if we care about the index. So I'll give you 5 minutes to do that one. Okay. Oh, all right, overshot. Okay, so the way we do this is the most straightforward way using range, or the most direct way using range for index in range length of word. This is the way that's most equivalent to the way it's done in other languages, which is that we look at every index up to from 0 to the size of the word -1. So if there's 10 letters, we're doing indexes 0 through 9, which is all the valid indexes. And so we ask ourselves, then we go and say letter is equal to word, give the thing at that index. And then we say if vowel, if letter in vowel, so we learned this last time around, if the letter is in vowel, in other words, if this letter that I'm looking at is A or E or I or U, so we can do that instead of going if letter equals A, if letter equals I, if letter equals E, if letter equals O, letter equals U, right? Rather than doing that, we can say, hey, is this represented as a substring in here? And if so, awesome, I found it. And I could just do return index over here. So what's cool about this, about this optimization right here, is that when you have a return statement inside of a for loop, again, once you hit a return, the function's done, right? Once you hit a return, function stops. If you didn't do it like that, or didn't think about, oh, I can just use return to stop it, then you got to go through all of them. And what you can do is say, you can say like found is equal to -1, return this and change this to found, right? And what we do here is we just simply say, except this wouldn't work, right? Found is equal to index, because if you had a second vowel, it would replace it, right? So if you had create, it'd be index 2, then found would be index 3, then index, and so on and so forth, right? It would keep hitting, again and again. Or this would keep triggering again and again. So one way to do that, get around that, is something like this. Done is equal to false. So done is equal to false, and if letters in val, let's go ahead and say if not done and letters in val, and then done is equal to true. And what that would do is that would basically tell us, hey, if we are not done, if we haven't found a vowel yet, and this thing is a vowel, great, I found the vowel. Otherwise, I'm done. Sorry, and now I'm done. So don't bother checking this block again. That's another way around that. But again, the way to do that, that is the best way to do, that is the most elegant using this for loop, is to just simply return to halt the execution as it occurs. Halt, return, index, because we're done here. Now, I mentioned the other way to do this is with enumerate. Yes, it is vowels. The other way to do this is with enumerate, which gives you both the index and the letter. So if instead we did for index in enumerate word, specifically index and letter, then we don't need, not only do we get the index that we care about, but we don't even need the statement to grab what the letter is, since enumerate gives us both the index and the corresponding thing there. So for instance, so now I can test this by saying, hey, print find first vowel word. Here I'm just using the word, which happens to be the same name as the variable. And so we get 1, which is what we'd expect. Apple, we should get 0. We do chomp, we'd get 2. And if I do sky, I'll get an error because I still have found there, because and found this variable. So sky, I get 1 because we don't have a letter, because we don't have a vowel. And of the ways that I presented, this is by far my favorite because it is short and easy to read. And yeah, you could also ostensibly do word index of letter, but we also need to make sure that we want to make sure we go through all the vowels and practice our for loops. All right, next step is to do the conversion to Pig Latin. All right, def. And let's see, what did I call that function? Convert to Pig Latin. That's also going to take in the word, right? And so what we need to, so everything for Pig Latin really depends on what the location of that first vowel is, right? Because the rules are, if there's no vowel, it's completely unchanged. If it starts with a vowel, move the vowel to the end of the word. Otherwise, move all the letters before the first vowel. So we need to know where that first vowel is to do any of this. Okay. So what we do is we'll say first vowel index is equal to, and then I'll call find first vowel. And also pass it word. Okay. And now we have 3 conditions on what we need to do, right? 3 conditions are, and we'll put them into plain English, if starts, so we have 3 conditions, which are starts with vowel, doesn't start with vowel and no vowels. So how do I tell if something, so let's go through these and just think, because this isn't necessarily the best order to put things in. But we can kind of figure that out by asking ourselves, is there an easy way to answer this? What is the easy way to figure out whether or not something starts with a vowel? How can I tell if something starts with a vowel? Anyone? Yes.
If the first vowel equals 0.
Yeah, exactly. If the first vowel index is 0, right? Okay. Doesn't start with a vowel. I guess that's anything but 0, except how do I tell if there's no vowels? What did I say how would I tell if there's no vowels in the word? Yes. Right, if I got a -1 and whew, I was worried a fire alarm was about to start. So, and then this one is everything else, basically, right? We could say greater than 0, but honestly, we can just simply say everything else. So we can structure this, and might as well structure it in numerical order. Right? No vowels is equal to -1. So let's go ahead and do this. So if find first, if first vowel index equals -1, pass. What does pass do? It just means that I'm not again, what we use pass exactly in cases like this, where I'm just simply writing out my conditions for my if statements, and I'm not sure which one what I'm gonna put in there yet, right? So pass means that, hey, this is an indented statement. There's going to be a bunch of indented lines here, but this is a placeholder. Pass really doesn't exist except for me to kind of write stuff. Elif. It starts with a vowel. Find vowel index equals 0. Pass. Else. That's everything else, right? And now we can even add a comment to this to make sure that we know what's going on. And this will need to return something, but we would be returning get in the if statements. So that's fine. All right, so find vowel index. So if there's no vowel, in other words, if we got -1 back, that rule is the easiest, which is just return the string unchanged, right? So term word, right? Interesting. There we go. Return word. Okay. Now what if it starts with the vowel? If it starts with the vowel, we need to move the vowel to the end of the word and add way to the end of it. So what we need to do is we need to return something, right? We need to return something, some kind of string, and then add way to the end, right? And what is that something? So, well, what we're doing here is that if it starts with a vowel, take that vowel and move it to the end of the word. And additionally add way. So it's 3 parts if you think about it. It is everything but the first vowel which, and don't type this out because these are essentially I'm just saying these are magic variables. These are big question marks where the real answer is what you're going to put in. And then we move the first vowel to the end and add way to it. So how do we get these? By taking our input word and doing slices. So take until 252, 253 to kind of try slicing it and figuring out what the proper return statement is over here. And these aren't real variables. Remember, these are fake variables that you're replacing with the actual answer. Everything but the first vowel. So give me a slice statement, right? Which is, and again, the slice statement is word. And since we're doing it over word, it's going to be, right? It's going to be something else like that, right? That's how you do a slice statement. So give me a slice statement for this, and then think whether or not you need a slice statement for this, or do you just need to grab something at an index? If you're able to do that, then move on to the next part. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to work on that one. It's easier than it seems if you've gotten comfortable with your slicing. But the order of the if statements matters. Like we could do find verse, we could do if it starts with a vowel, and then if we could do no vowel. So, and that's fine. We can do either of these two first. I'm responding to somebody in chat. We could do either of these two first. It doesn't matter which one we do first. But since our else condition is what our else condition is, that matters. There's multiple ways you can structure this if these three conditions. The first vowel, right? Because with vowel, because if it starts with a vowel, then you just take that vowel and only that vowel and move it to the end. Yeah, you can leave early. Okay. So the first vowel, so we take the vowel and we move it to the end. So, and then we add way to it. So what is the first vowel? Well, the first vowel is what was at index 0, right? If we're taking, it always helps to kind of create an example that you know how it's going to work. If we take apple, we're going to be going and turning that into PPLE ploe or pleoe. You know, that doesn't really make sense, but it's fine for the rules I have. Which means I take this, which is at index 0, and move it to the end. So I don't need a slice there. You could do it as a slice, but you don't really need to. They just simply say word 0 for where the first vowel is, because we know where it is. Find vowel index there. You could also do, if you were sliced it, it would be this, which is up to and including 1, which is say up to and not including 1. So that's another way to do it. Everything but the first vowel. Well, the slice for that is we want to start at index 1 and go up to, but not include anything. So we could do length of word there if we wanted to. But for slices, we can just simply leave that out. Okay. Our final step is what we want to do is we want to take let's go with chomp, because that's just such a fun word. Right? Okay, so that would turn into ompche. Okay, right? Because we take these things, everything before the first vowel, and move it to the end, right? So we're breaking it into 3 parts again, which is which are those 3 parts. You've got the A at the end. You've got the everything before, sorry, you've got the first vowel and everything after it. And then you've got everything before the first vowel, right? So again, we'll break, since it's in 3 parts, we're just concatenating 3 strings together. So it's something, something, and A. Okay, so okay, 1/3 of the way done already. So now let's think on, and let's work, I'll go ahead and do this one. So we've got everything, we want to do everything from the first, so let's see. We could do either part first, it doesn't really matter. But if we've got, say, chomp, we've got chomp, we want everything starting at the first vowel. So we want starting everything at index 2 and to the end, from 2 to the end. So we know it. So we word something to the end, which is going to be just simply leaving it blank. So we need it. So what's changing here is our starting index. Okay. We want to start at what index? Well, it's not going to be specific indexes. We can't put 2 here because it would always be 2. And that wouldn't work for a word like forward. So what we put here is first vowel index, because that's where we're starting, right? Start at first vowel index, the index of the first vowel, go up to, but the up to and include everything in it. Now, what about the first vowel, the first part? Well, that's going to start at 0, start at index 0, which I'll explicitly write here. It's going to go up to, but not include the first vowel. Where's that first vowel? That first vowel index. And this is part of the reason why we do this. This is I guess another reason why we have that whole up to but not including kind of vocabulary that that computer scientists seem to be so fond of, because we don't have to do any funky math. We go up to, but don't include the first vowel. And then we go from the first vowel to the end. So let's go ahead and test this. So I'm going to copy, paste, convert to Pig Latin, run. Find vowel index is not defined. Oh yeah, totally. Just copy paste there on my part. Or again, issue of typing and talking. Other languages will be nice and alert you as to when you created a variable that didn't exist. Python's like, I'm sure you know what you're doing, bud. All right, so sky returns sky, as we'd expect. Chomp should return omche. Chomp A. Oh, right. I wanted to start at the first vowel index and go to the end. Ompomche. Or did I just mix stuff up? Let's see. Chomp. Yep. All I've done is recreate this. I've just simply done chomp A. So I have the right idea. I just put them in the wrong place. And amazing what you do when you're talking and typing at the same time. Ompche. There we go. Oh, and if you missed that, all I had was that I had their places reversed. So ompche, chomp, so right. This is everything from the first vowel to the end, and then everything from the beginning to the first vowel. Okay. And then super should be upperse. And let's go ahead and do something that starts with a vowel, like egg. And that should move, and that should be guess. Yeah, egg should become gewe. All right. So now on to the for loop. So we're going to create a program, a function called main, and we'll talk about how to do main the Pythonical way some other point, because typically what they'll say, the correct way to do main in Python is something like this. Which looks like a whole lot of gibberish, right? And that's how you do main in Python typically if you're coming from a programming language. And if that meant nonsense to you because you've not come from another language, then don't worry about it. Main is basically, again, we have people with different levels and different backgrounds. But point is that oftentimes what we use is that we use a function called main to indicate this is the starting point, right? This is where we're going to start. So I'm going to write main and then I'm going to call it. Okay, so in main, what am I going to do? I'm going to basically start taking my input. And then once I start taking my input, I will call convert to Pig Latin on it and then do as needed to it. So input, enter word to convert to Pig Latin. You can type whatever. You don't have to be verbatim. Done to exit. Or type input done. Input done to exit, because we don't want to write type because they might just type in it and never hit the enter key and then wonder what in the world's going on. And then we'll do a new line over here. Okay, input. I'm going to call it user input is equal to input. I can't say input is equal to input because otherwise it will kind of just go crazy. So And then let's go ahead and print the user input. Right now, we're just echoing what they're saying, like so. Right, input, output, right? But now what we were going to do is that we want to do this whole, we want to do this while statement thing, right? Which is, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say basically, user will say, do something like this. So we'll say like, while user input is not equal to done, the word done, because when they type in done, we're done, right? While it's not equal to done, take this in. And then we'll just simply, again, print the user input. Okay, and by the way, this one does have a deliberate error, which is, as you'll see very shortly, local variable user input reference before assignment. It says, hey, you've got a user input, but you used it before you gave it anything, right? Logically, this makes sense to us, right? Which is that we have the input, and while it's not equal to done, take some input, right? And put it into there. So this is a common problem. Some programming languages get around with this with a do while, but that doesn't really help us here. What we want to do like is, so we should assign it before we use it, right? User input is equal to whatever, empty string, right? And now if I say, hello, hello, and it'll keep prompting me, world, to covert, as though it's a covert operation. Convert, you know, Pig Latin, as though it's another, as though it's some religion. So follow, up, down, done, and types out done. We're done. That's cool. Okay, great. And you notice it just ended. It's not asking me anymore. I put an apple, it's like, what in the world are you talking about? Okay, but we do have one mild issue here, which is also a very common issue. And this is definitely a bug. This is what would be classified as a bug rather than an error, which is that if I type in done, actually it works just fine. But we type in done, it prints out done. Awesome. But in our input output over here, if I type in done, it doesn't do anything to done, right? If I type in done and it doesn't print out done. I'll show you what I mean when we get started, but there is a bug here. We'll resolve it late, and we'll resolve it later. Okay, after we finish converting our words into Pig Latin, right? So we've got our word. We're going to go ahead and take this and convert it into our user input. And I'm going to convert it into lowercase. User input. And we'll just test that. I'm going to yell apple at it. I'll yell it again. I'll yell done at it. And that exits just fine because we converted it. Okay. So, so now that we've converted to lowercase, we can convert it into Pig Latin. Now, mind you, we don't want to necessarily. So this is a good first step, but also a terrible final step, as you'll see. I'm deliberately introducing bugs / errors. The kind of errors that you might make. We want to take the user input and convert it to Pig Latin. We'll store it and print it out. Okay, hello, Elohe. Provide, ovide pray. Apple, done, one day, done, done. Well, what's going on here? Well, it's doing, remember, computer, evil genie, doing exactly what you told it to do. While the user input's not done, take an input from the user, store it in user input. Take user input, convert to lowercase. Convert user input into Pig Latin, store it in user input, print it out, and then check if it's equal to done. If it's equal to done. So we changed what the user input was, right? Right, so we can get around this partially by doing, by basically saying Pig Latin, by storing it as a separate variable and instead printing out that variable, right? That way we don't actually change our user input. Other than to turn it into lowercase, I mean. So apple, banana, done. Except that now it ended this time, but now we have the bug I was talking about. Where basically I typed in done and it converted it to Pig Latin, became one day, and then it finished. So there's a couple ways around this. The first way is to kind of to change up how we do this, which is a bit weird, but there's a couple ways to go around this. The first way is that we can program, the easiest way to program ourselves out of this, right, is to do this. If user input not equal to done, then do the things we want. Otherwise, if it is equal to done, if it's equal to done, just don't do anything. And this is like inelegant, but it works. Pig, egg pay, apple, done. Right? Why didn't it print anything out? Because what we've done over here is said, if the user input is not done, do this, but it was done, so we didn't do any of this. There's a lot of ways around to program your way around this. Another way, which feels a bit weird once you've especially the first time you see it, is to rearrange stuff. So what we'll do is that we will, it's a bit weird to keep doing this back and forth with the computer where it keeps saying the same thing over and over again. So we can say, do a user input over here, enter a word to convert to Pig Latin. So you might find this interesting. And input done to exit. So notice that first one is outside the loop. And then inside of the loop, what we do is that we kind of flip it around. And notice so what did I do here? So I said user input. So take the user input, right? Store it. And if it's not equal to done, take that input, convert it to Pig Latin, print out that Pig Latin, and now get a new user input. and then go and check that user input if it's done. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it allows us a bit more flexibility, as you'll see in a second. Appleway, pig, igpay, and done. Stops there. But what we can also do, as a result, is that I can just get rid of this. All this instructions for the input now, because we've already presented them from the input. No need for all the instructions, no need to keep reproducing it. Again, there's a lot of valid ways to do this. All right, just trying to manage the screen. Where's convert to big Latin defined? It's defined right here. Remember to capitalize the L in Pig Latin. I think that might be your issue. So, apple, apple, banana, banana bay. So notice what happened here. I am just able to enter words back to back without any instructions, and I printed the instruction at the top. Apple, banana. See, the problem isn't spelling banana, it's stopping spelling banana. Chomp, omche, and then done, and it comes out like that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. The key, and there's not so much a right way as there is a way of just recognize where you might have bugs. And remember, when you're taking in user input from a user, and that user input says it's going to stop the process, that if that user input says it's going to stop the process, remember that when you're taking it in, that you don't want to accidentally do operations on that user input. So that's all I've got for you today. I know that a bunch of people want to talk to me, so class is dismissed. And I hope you all have a good weekend. 1 second to stop sharing and start recording.